Hello, namaste everyone. So today we are having with us my friend Ajinkya. We together spent a lot of time in Purushottam English School, Nashik Road, and he is alumni of IIT Gandhinagar, and currently he is having or he is founder of growfix.in. So before wasting any time, already I think we are late. I'll just ask Ajinkya to take over.
Yeah. First, I'm really sorry. I'm 4 minutes late. Internet was gone. So anyway, Prasad has already sent me some questions. Before that, I just want to talk about what is entrepreneurship, why, what, and how. Probably I'll take 5-10 minutes, and then we can have open questions and we can discuss any other thing that you guys want, right? So I'll just share my screen. Can you see the screen, Prasad?
Yes. You are visible. Screen is visible.
Okay. Let me pull out the. Can you see this presentation, the PDF?
Yeah, completely visible. Just make it full screen.
Okay. Yeah, is this better?
Yeah, this is better.
Yeah.
This is better. Thank you.
So, I'll just talk about briefly what entrepreneurship is. So, I'd probably like to, start with. So, generally, we tend to understand something if there is a good analogy. That's something we understand. So, all of us know computers, right? So, like it has two parts. One is your hardware. One is your software, right? Hardware कीबोर्ड होता है, माउस होता है, मॉनिटर का स्क्रीन रहता है, मदरबोर्ड रहता है, अंदर रैम रहता है, जीपीयू रहता है, व्हाटएवर एक्स वाई जेड। एंड देन देयर इज अ सॉफ्टवेयर पीस विच इज लाइक विंडोज होगा या मैकबुक होगा, एप्पल का कुछ आईओएस होगा या एंड्रॉइड होगा या सम फॉर्म ऑफ इट, राइट? सो if you take that analogy to yourself, you're born with hardware. Like when you actually are born, there is hardware inside you. Your brain thinks in particular way. I mean, obviously you have all other instruments like hand, nose, mouth, ears, all senses. But essentially, what makes human beings different is how different is their brain. So every brain is very unique, and they think on that itself, right? And then they write software on you. These are basically your parents first, then your teachers, professors, and then you also learn different things, and you basically write software. This software is basically your values, how you perceive world, your preferences, whether you like one thing or other, what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong, right? So this is how you are brought up. I mean, we will use this later. And so this software is also about developing different traits, right? So what is entrepreneurship? Entrepreneurship basically means taking ownership of things, right? It doesn't mean starting a venture. It doesn't mean some business. It doesn't mean anything. It is basically taking ownership of things. If you want something to happen, you go make that happen. You have that desire to walk that extra mile, which other people won't, right? And we see such ample examples, right? There was no aeroplane. Wright brothers thought, hey, there should be aeroplane, and they started making one. They were actually building. They had a cycle repair shop, right? So this is not a place where people like you. If you think it is not an ideal place to build a plane, and somebody else was building plane, but he was not able to. But these guys built. So it is about taking ownership. If you think something has to be changed, what are you going like? Do you take ownership? And when I say ownership, right, it is not a physical ownership कि मेरे पास इतनी जमीन है या मेरे इस कंपनी में इतना % शेयर है. That is not the ownership I'm talking about. The ownership I'm talking about is ownership of basically it is an emotional ownership. You want something to happen, therefore you work towards it. It doesn't matter what are the incentives. Incentives can be totally different. So if you look at it, Prasad is arranging this for you, right? You guys. I mean, he doesn't get any money out of it, right? But he's taking ownership because he thinks that students should know this. So he will find people and get them to his students, right? It could be different. Like sometimes, let us say your younger brother is being bullied by people. Somebody actually went and hit him. So you go back and hit, or you basically figure out who the bully is. You complain to, you do something for your elder brother, younger brother, whoever it is. That is also entrepreneurship. So if you take ownership in anything, that is entrepreneurship. It is very simple, right? So once we are clear, then what does entrepreneur do? Take ownership, but ownership of what? Of others' problem, right? So you basically pick someone else's problem and then you figure it out, you solve it out. So this is what entrepreneurship is, basically picking out problem and solving it. And then business is one form of entrepreneurship, right? So Prasad puts a lot of status of Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. He's an entrepreneur. He doesn't run a business, but he took ownership of a problem, saying, "Hey, people should know this. I really want to work towards it, and I will dedicate my life." Politicians are kind of entrepreneurs in a good way or bad way. Obviously, businessmen are entrepreneurs, but even athletes are entrepreneurs. If you see, if they are doing something, if you are taking ownership of something and solving it, you are an entrepreneur. And now if you look at this paradigm, then when you solve other people's problem, you basically create value, right? Let us say, let us take an example of Swiggy, right? Swiggy or Zomato, which deliver you food at your doorstep. So they are solving problem for you. Your problem is, I want my food here. I want to eat hotel food, but I don't want to go out, so they'll deliver. In doing that, you would give them something. That is how they create value. Now to capture that value, you form a business to have a materialistic ownership. So you form a business saying, iska jo value niklega, I should be a rightful owner of it. In a material sense, you form a company, you own a share, you take a profit, you take a revenue, you take some form of value. That is in general, generally in terms of like that value is paid in money. In old times it was barter, now it is paid in money. So when you want to capture the value of solving others' problem, that's how you convert it to business. So if you look at like 100 years back, Edison, Tesla, these guys did great innovations, like finding out electricity and a lot of other things, right? So they were entrepreneurs, but they couldn't build business, but they were still great entrepreneurs, right? They solved something. And now if you look at Steve Jobs, Elon Musk of the world, these guys are also entrepreneurs, but they are also businessmen. Like they built business which captures that value, and therefore they are today billionaires, right? Prasad, are we clear here till now?
Yes,
Am I going
yes.
too fast, too slow?
No, it's completely all right. It's completely all right. You are going with a good speed. No issues.
So now, when we talk about business, right? In today's world, there is always ye startup ka there is big, it is a sexy buzzword. So, what is the difference between startup and normal business? So, just want to make sure that people understand it, because I've seen a lot of people say, "Hey, मैंने startup कर दिया." There is nothing wrong in startup or business or doing anything. But if you don't understand what you're doing, the chances that you are going to fail is much higher. And then you don't understand what you're doing, you'll do wrong things and end up at a dead end, right? So what is difference between startup and normal business? Okay, so startup essentially stems from having a different worldview. uh, Business essentially wants to solve a short-term problem and next to door problem. Like my father started manufacturing business because he knew, hey, this company wants this kind of parts, auto parts, and they're having difficult time procuring it. He didn't think the world should be like this and this and this, right? And it is completely okay to be like that. Uh, if you look at Swiggy, or for that matter, any big startup which are successful, they have basically a worldview. Uh, how many of you have used eBay? Like, even if you have not used eBay, you know what eBay is, right? eBay is basically, you can order things and anyone can sell, even you can become a seller. So founder of eBay, Umid Yar, he had a very clear vision saying, hey, to be seller on Amazon or anywhere for that matter, uh, you have to be an official seller. You need a lot of licenses and everything. But I should be able to sell. Everybody should be able to sell. So he started eBay, wherein he said any person should be able to sell and any person should be able to buy. So this was his worldview, which stemmed into that startup. If you look at Uber, it is also a worldview. Like I want certainty, predictability when I go, and I want car at my home if I'm ready to pay. Ola, Uber, everything worked on that. Airbnb was like Airbnb, Airbnb is also where you go and stay into someone else's house, right? So people wanted to experience world in a different way, and these guys said, "Hey, we should be able to offer that experience. There, there should the world should have this, right? This thing should exist in the world, and that is a stem of startup. For a business, the route is very simple: solving a problem, making money, and there is nothing wrong in both the things. Okay, there when you take a different worldview, which is altogether different, that means you are thinking of changing world. So there is a lot of uncertainty, right? So therefore, startups have a lot of uncertainty, and therefore failure chances are also high. Even after reaching $1 billion valuations, actually 20% of the startups die, not acquired, nothing. I mean, they die because there is so much uncertainty, right? And obviously, if you're talking about changing a world, if that mission is successful, then the scale is very high, right? So therefore, startups scale fast, but obviously probability of success is very low. In normal business, you are very focused, saying, "Hey, I'm solving for this person. I'm not really bothered about the worldview, right? How should manufacturing industry in India should look like? What I'm only worried is these five people need these five parts, and I'm going to manufacture them. If it costs me 100 rupees, I'm going to. If they are paying me 120 rupees, I'm going to make 20 rupees, and that's a perfect thing to do. Most of the ventures that are started today are normal businesses. There is no uncertainty. You are only solving for execution. If your execution is right, going to make money, a decent amount of money. Nothing is bad in that, right? And they also scale, but they take long time. Otherwise, startups scale much faster. So then, I mean, there is no objective choice between, like, one must understand there is no objective choice between startup and normal business. uh, you cannot choose, like, you cannot go and say, "Hey, I want to do startup." You can't, unless you develop a belief which changes, which you wish should exist in the world, belief or some kind of thing. You cannot do a startup. Otherwise, normal business, there are always opportunities. You can go set up ice cream shop. There are a lot of things that you can do and make money, uh, and it is perfectly fine to do both. But what you should understand is what you are doing, and then execute that well. So coming back to the original question, why we are talking, right? So why entrepreneurship? It is for people who have high degree of ownership. So it's there in the hardware. I mean, when you are born like that. People might rationalize in other way, but there are some people who have entrepreneurial mindset. It doesn't matter whether they start business or not. Prasad is the entrepreneur. You want to learn about entrepreneurship, there is a itch in your mind, therefore you are attending this talk, right? So there is this high degree of ownership. You might justify in thousand ways, but essentially it's a hardware choice, right? So why entrepreneurship? There is no reason, it is there in the hardware. If you think you want to do entrepreneurship, that means you have that high degree of ownership. And if you see you are that, and you will then see that you are that kind of person who would want to take ownership, who would want to solve problems. If something is not happening your way, you would rather work hard and make it happen that way, right? So this is like why entrepreneurship, because it is how people are. Like, some people look good, some people like not good or bad also. Like, some people are tall, some people are short. It is genetic. So like being an entrepreneur is also, I think, it's genetic. uh, Once you separate entrepreneurship and business, this is very clear. So there could be some person, let's say, let us talk about Mr. Narendra Modi. He's an entrepreneur, right? He may not run a business, but he's an entrepreneur. He thinks world should work in particular way, therefore he did, and he's successful. He reached whatever, he became prime minister and all. So, and what is entrepreneurship? Is basically solving others' problem, and you choose particular problems to solve. Like, this kid is basically figuring out, hey, which one to pick. In the similar fashion, you basically are seeing a lot of problems in your life, and then you pick a problem and then go solving it. That is how entrepreneurship is. And your likes, what you like, which problem to pick, is basically decided by your hardware, yes, and your software. Someone, let's say hardware, why? Let's say someone who has a dyslexia, right? He cannot become a great academician because he cannot read properly. but he might as well become a good magician or actor or any performing art for that matter. So that is hardware dependent. Second is software dependent, right? What values are you taught by your parents, the society you grew up in? Uh, like a Tinder like app would never happen in India first. I mean, people do use Tinder in India, but we were never open to such kind of values or choices or preferences. So what problem you pick is also dependent on your hardware and software, right? So now this is my last slide. Probably after that we'll open it for a question. How to be an entrepreneur is first is start taking ownership whatever you're doing. Okay. So first is take your ownership of your own problem. I get pissed when I meet people who don't even pass properly and they want to do entrepreneurship. I'm not saying that you have to be good in studies to be entrepreneur, but at least if you are pursuing a degree, it's your job. Like you should take that problem and own it and solve it. I'm not saying you should get 90 or don't do the degree. Okay, I mean I'm not saying it is also a must, but stop making excuses. That is number one for entrepreneurship. Okay. Second is start looking for problems to solve. Essentially, we always keep seeing world from our own eyes. Try to see it from someone else's, and then you will see what kind of problems they face and which of them you can solve. Right. Uh, and obviously, once you understand how to pick problems, and then you build skills to solve those problems. Some might be very hard skill, which are very important for the business you run or for the problem you run. Like the problem I am solving is I feel that there are no great fixed income opportunities for retail investors. They are all for some like very few rich people. I want to democratize that. I want to make it open. So if I'm talking about fixed income finance, then I should have knowledge about finance and fixed income. Someone might be doing completely different thing, therefore he can have zero knowledge of finance. I mean, literally zero. He can have someone handle his finances, but there are some core skills that you need to do regardless of which problem you pick. One is empathy, because you need to develop this habit of seeing worlds through other eyes, so that you see problem clearly, and then you see the context of it, why that problem exists, why one particular solution doesn't work, uh, and why would your solution work, or what kind of solution is needed. You have to see that problem through the user's eyes and then solve it. So empathy is very important. Second is hustle. Obviously this is the core of entrepreneurship. So if you have, this is kind of a indicator of how much, how hard, like this is the image on the right side, right? Do you have that burning desire of taking ownership? Do you really have that badly? Do you badly want to have that solved? If you have that, then if someone says no, you are not going to stop there. You are going to find out ways, which is what hustle is, right? You go figure out some other way, you convince people, you do something, and but you don't stop, you keep crawling towards that, solving that problem. And the last is storytelling. Storytelling is a very fancy word for what it is. What basically it means is like you should be articulate and you should be able to convince people. Why? Because when you solve a problem, you are essentially dealing with other people, and humans only understand story. So the best way to convince people is to form a story around it so that people understand. And that storytelling also makes you articulate. So if I'm telling you about entrepreneurship, and if I tell you, like, I can tell you 100 different experiences of mine which are relevant to entrepreneurship, but I should have this judgment of what I should tell to this group of audience, right? This is articulation, and convincing is basically your sales, marketing, all stems from this. So these are core skills, right? And how you build it? Empathy is by observing problems, understanding people, listening. Hustle is just like it is something like a bodybuilding. You start hustling now on whatever you are doing. Okay, like if you say I want to, let us say, do anything, do it properly. Then take no for an answer and solve it. And once you develop that hustling habit, it will grow on you. And third is storytelling. I mean, it's a very vast topic. Basic is basically you start being articulate and start convincing people. So if you see people who show leadership qualities in early years, they grow in leadership position later also faster because they have developed that leadership skill, which is convincing others. Okay. So this is what from my side on a very brief note. What is the what is the abstract of entrepreneurship? So thank you for listening to me. And like if you have any questions, I would be open to answer them.
Okay, Ajinkya, it was really very nice to hear from you. Uh, Now, before, if students, if do you have any questions, you can type your questions in comment section so that we can read and Ajinkya will answer those questions. So before students are asking any question, let me ask you one simple thing. As you told us about hardware and software, you made it very simple. That hardware is when you are born as a baby, so it is hardware, and software is nothing but whatever your parents, teachers, friends. Indirectly or directly feed in your mind. So it is
Yeah,
clear. You also said that becoming an entrepreneur means you just need to give solution for the problems. If you find any problem, just come forward, uh, take the ownership and solve the problem. You will become an entrepreneur. But still, if some of the students have not understood or they have joined late, I'll just want to ask you a question. What does it take to become an entrepreneur, in short? Means
it is, yeah.
like you started with the firm growfix.in, so you found the problem that any retail or a middle class person shall be able to invest and he should get the returns. So
Yeah,
if students are there who are in second or third year, how they will think of having or starting entrepreneurship?
I think pick a problem and solve.
Okay, simple.
Very simple.
Okay.
Don't think
Okay.
it as of a business. Don't think कि
Okay.
मेरे को इससे क्या मिलने वाला है. You are going to
Okay.
take that learning. So pick a
Yeah.
problem and solve. And this
Okay,
is a
great.
problem with entrepreneurship. Okay, the problem is our education system has always taught us how to solve a problem, but they have never taught us how to pick a problem, right? Because you are always
Yeah,
given
yeah.
a clear problem in your exam and you are supposed to solve it.
Yes.
How do you? This is the first problem you have. Like pick a problem.
Yes, exactly. So, next question I'm having is, what are the ideas behind successful startups?
No, I think if you especially talk about startups, uh, these are not even ideas. These are really great problems.
Okay.
Uh, and at the stem of it is they changed. They wanted to change. The founders had a strong urge to change the world in a particular fashion. They had a world vision in which they wanted to uh, change. It is not for money or anything, uh,
Okay.
because the probability of success is so low that you wouldn't do it for money ever. Startups especially.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
so I mean, it is something that uh, how badly do you want? Would you leave
Yeah.
everything and
Mhm.
focus your life on that? Are you ready to
Okay.
lose whatever you have? That's how great startups are made.
Okay. 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 Great. So, if I'm having any idea, so how do I start with the business with no experience? If I'm not having any experience, like students, they are currently studying continuously, they are into academics. So, if they are having any idea and they just want to enter into entrepreneurship, so how they can enter?
So that's an interesting question. So I would suggest find a mentor,
Yeah.
because what happens is, like, when you are in very early stages, there are going to be failures, and these failures are nothing but learnings for the next step. But if you don't understand that, you are going to want to stop because you might run out of resources. You think there are मैं job ही कर लेता हूँ ये XYZ, uh, or basically, or the hard way, like you should be ready to slog in till you are successful and keep learning. Even if you don't have a mentor, if you continue doing it, you and keep learning what is going wrong, then at some point of time you will be successful. Like, but it is very difficult doing that way. Okay, it is all okay in emotional talks and motivational talks,
Yeah.
uh, but because there are always other opportunities that are clouding your mind. So best is to seek help from mentors, develop relationship with people who have done it, and then learn from them.
Okay, great. Now, here, this is one of my friend called Rohit. He's saying I come up with always some great ideas but fail to do,
Hmm.
and that ideas are from different sectors. So if like I'm working in education industry, I'm assistant professor right now, and I'm coming up with an idea, but somehow as I'm giving more and more time to earn money out of my regular job, so in that case how to do all this means, like I started selling mangoes 2 years back, but somehow I couldn't find time, and this year due to lockdown and due to some other situations I couldn't make it. So
Hmm.
how to keep yourself motivated, because it happens that several ideas come and we couldn't spend time and the idea is lost and someone else starts the same business. So how to cope up with this failure?
No, so one is so you see, like business is is like dating. You know, if you are exploring ideas, you are like when you are when you are single, you might like you will go online like find out 10 dates, and you will meet 10 girls over different time at CCD. That's okay,
Yeah.
but starting a business is like marriage. You cannot marry five women, right? You will have to pick one. So when you say fail to do, one of the major reason is lack of focus. Time is actually an output. Okay, it is a symptom that you don't have time. Fundamentally, it says that your allocation is wrong.
Oh.
You are not cutting down other things that you should have cut down.
Yeah.
And you failed, as in, okay, you failed, that's okay, but why did you stop? That's the next question. That you failed, that means at that point you were not successful. You have to figure out what is wrong, and then you make it right, and then you move forward. I mean, let's say somebody fails in 10th standard. Does that mean he should stop education? No,
Not
right?
at all. Hmm.
So if you fail, that's okay. I mean, I have failed many times, and it doesn't matter. You have to learn, pick yourself up, and go again. I mean, there is, and obviously, if you keep focus, then you optimize resources. I mean, obviously, you can do part-time things, but then are you making trade-offs? What I also see whether with many people is like, hey, I want to do this business, I want to do jobs, but I also want to hang out with my friends. I also want to spend
Hmm.
time with my family. I also want to watch Netflix.
Hmm. 10 ठिकाणी पाय ठेवणे मराठीत सांगायचं तर.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. So that is focus is very important,
Yes,
and
yes.
if you feel, that's okay. I mean, my question is, why did you stop?
Yeah. Yes, there should be that much strong reason to stop. Otherwise, one should not stop. He should keep on doing the things and work out, come what may.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and even if you stop in one sector, let's say you couldn't do because of COVID, you didn't do mango ka thing, but you have
Yeah.
learned a lot of things, right? How
Yes,
you
yes,
can
yes, yes.
leverage that and do the 10 different things.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
Right? So,
Okay, so we are having with us Vedant, who is my student. He is asking, data says that most of the startups fail at early stage. What do you think are the major reasons behind the failures?
there could be empty reason. One is generally like, uh, there is I mentioned there lot of lot of uncertainty, because you want to see world in a same different way. You're not really sure like how many people want it. So most of the startup never pick up because there is no demand. Then second is, uh, whatever should have happened very easily generally has happened, right?
Yeah,
So remaining things are difficult. So solving them is also difficult. So people run out of whether money, or they are not able to assemble great teams. And by nature, right, it is a kind of a model where 95% of the startups are going to fail.
yeah,
So in fact, if it fails, I mean, it's a natural thing to happen. There are reasons for success that something worked. Otherwise, it is
yeah.
destined to fail, right?
Okay, okay, okay. So Vishaka is asking, sir, how we can evaluate our idea that it will work or not?
That's a very valid question. I think I think customer validation. I mean, the problem is that uh, okay, let us divide this in. There are always different, like startup framework is completely different and business framework is completely different. If your business is there, then that means someone else has also done it, right? Like you were selling mangoes, that means there were many other people who were also selling mangoes.
Yes.
So the only chance of failure is you don't do it well.
Hmm.
You don't need to really worry about demand. You will learn along the lines, you will build relationship and sell it. But if you like, you don't procure good or I don't know, it has to be with you in business, or otherwise, I mean, you're not able to solve. So mango is a very simple example. Let's say look at
Yeah.
manufacturing.
Yeah.
uh, you know Mahindra ko ye part lagte hai, but what if you're not able to build? Then you will.
Hmm.
So if you're doing business right, understand the customers well, but because there are already existing customers who have that problem,
Yeah.
and someone is solving it for them. So it is very easy actually.
Okay.
I mean, and then you don't start unless you have a clear validation.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So let's say you want to what do you want? You want to teach coding to people, and you want to charge, let's say, 10,000 rupees. So you figure out people like who actually pay today. Who are these people? How do they find about courses? And how
Hmm.
can I sell my course to them? Am I going to sell online on an academy, or I'm going to offline? Whatever X Y Z.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there is
Yeah.
already somebody has just done it before. You have to just replicate it well and do it properly. So that's easy. That's pure execution focus.
Okay. 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 So validation is the key. You need to validate whether it
Yes.
will work or not. Yes.
No.
Yes.
In fact, I mean, if you're picking good enough problem, right? If someone else is solving it, I'm very clear. Like
Okay.
that is what business is. Then
Yeah.
validation is not needed. It is
Already.
yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's say if I put a hotel, right? I mean, forget before COVID. Okay, COVID की बात तो छोड़ो. But if COVID didn't exist, then do I need to validate कि hotel चलेगा कि नहीं?
No. No. No.
What needs to be validated is कि मैं चलाऊंगा कि नहीं. तो मेरे को अकल है कि नहीं कि
Exactly.
मैं चाइनीज डाल रहा हूँ या पाव भाजी डाल रहा हूँ, उसकी प्राइस क्या कर रहा हूँ, कौन से एरिया में डाल रहा हूँ, वहाँ कस्टमर किस तरह आते हैं, मैं क्या. So it's all depend on me.
Exactly. 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 Nicely
तो
said.
हाँ, बिजनेस में it is validated. तुम्हें एग्जीक्यूशन ढंग से करना है.
Okay. Okay. In case of startup and entrepreneurship, you need to see whether you need to validate.
स्टार्टअप में वैलिडेशन के बहुत साइंटिफिक तरीके होते हैं. आई मीन आई कैन शेयर
Okay.
वीडियो. सो
Okay.
बेसिकली इज लाइक you are essentially building a new thing, and you think some people want it, right?
Yeah.
So you ask these people whether they really want it, and then there are like science actually behind it. How do you
Mhm.
ask? Because if I go and ask you, hey, would you do this, you are going to say yes. Doesn't mean you are going to do it. Like the
Yeah.
problem we are solving, we said, hey, people should invest in these new assets. We wanted to validate. So we spoke with
Mhm.
200, 300 people. We asked different
Oh.
kind of indirect questions, whether they really want it. Then people still
Mhm.
started saying yes. We didn't have products. We started asking, कि हमें check दे दो. We
Oh.
collected 40, 50 checks. Because if unless check दे रहे तो सही problem है. Then it is valid.
Exactly.
So there is always a way in startup. Without building a product, you can validate. I mean, there is a guaranteed way, and there is a science
Okay.
behind it. I mean, there is a framework, and people can always work on it.
Okay. 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 Great. Now our friend Abhishek Bauskar is here. He is asking how to differentiate if we should go with a startup or a business, and how can we take the calculated decision.
No, you should never do a startup. That is very clear.
Okay.
Okay, you should do a startup when you cannot not do it.
Okay.
That means like if you have a startup idea, right, choose not to do it. If you are able to sleep with it, you should not do it.
Oh.
It should turn into an obsession. Then only there is point in doing startup, because there is enough data to prove that it is not a meaningful way to become rich. So
Mhm.
second question I generally ask anyone, or when I started this, I asked myself, if I spend 5 years on this problem and I don't get a penny out of this, suppose this fails, will I be okay with it? Still do I want to go and solve this problem?
Yeah.
That is what startup is. Like, money is a very, so see, it is like, it is function of probability, right? If
Yeah.
something is very probable, then the payout is going to be not high. Something is very low probable, then payout is going to be
Yeah,
very high.
definitely.
Therefore, you see successful startup and you think there is a best way of making money. But there are 99% of the startups which actually fail, 95, 99, whatever it is. So more likely than not, you are going to be in the failed one by default.
Okay.
So don't do a startup if you and keep telling yourself that you don't want to do a startup. If you are mean to do a startup, you will end up doing it.
Yes,
Don't choose to
exactly.
do a startup, right? It
Yes,
should
yes, yes.
should grapple you from the inside, and then it should happen. Like, I mean, this is a very bad analogy, but starting a startup is there is a difference between sex and rape. Okay, so
Oh.
starting a startup is like doing a rape on because you cannot forcefully do it. It is always a bad thing. So this is how I look at it. Business, I mean, very clear. Like, manage your resources well, eliminate risk one by one, and keep moving. And then you will get into a groove. So business is very easy. The problem is, like, people. Yeah, I specifically mentioned that right. There's difference between startup and business. Then they start comparing wrong metrics. They'll say मेरा लॉस है तो भी चलेगा, फ्लिपकार्ट का भी लॉस है. Flipkart was loss making, still somebody bought it for 16 billion. Nobody is going to buy your business if it is loss making, right? Because it is a business.
Exactly. Yeah.
And Flipkart could have failed that. Like in 2015, there were signs that Flipkart could fail completely. So the problem is comparing wrong metrics, and people should have this very clear whether they are doing startup or they are doing business. By default, you should do business. By default, you should not do startup.
Very clear. You made it very clear, Ajinkya. Now, there is one question. What resources can one access online to learn basics of being an entrepreneur and entrepreneurship? Online resources.
So, you should look like there are a lot of good resources, okay, but generally take references. So I would say start reading, start looking at videos of Y Combinator. These are pretty good resources. But I can send you a list of what I generally followed and what I thrive on. I can tell you people that follow.
Okay.
Generally, it doesn't help. I mean, that's basic.
Oh.
Right? Only way of doing it is actually doing it. Learning it is actually doing it. It is like learning swimming on YouTube. If I tell you कि देखो ऐसा करना है, हाथ मारना है, फिर मुंह अंदर डालना है, फिर इस तरह से मुंह निकाल के सांस लेना है, फिर अंदर, then would you jump in ocean and swim? No, you can't.
Not at all.
So the best way, and I understand that many people are resource crunch, right? So do small businesses where stakes are low. As simple as like कि जेरोक्स कॉपी होती है नोट्स की, वो बेचना, लोगों को जेरोक्स कॉपी घर पे डिलीवर करना. आई डोंट नो, मतलब वेयर essentially you are not spending any money. So a best way to start entrepreneurship is spend 0 rupees and earn 1 lakh rupees from entrepreneurship.
Great.
If you are able to do that, then you don't need to listen to anything, not even me. You know what to do. You will, like, that process will teach you what to do.
Exactly. So we are having one more question. Now, most of the students which I have seen, means I am having many. Swapnil is one of my students who came up with an idea of manufacturing a device which will help blinds, but he didn't have funds. So there are any funding agencies or what are different government initiatives that can help the budding entrepreneurs?
Yeah, there are government schemes, but by default you should never depend on them, because you'll spend more money in getting the fund. So you'll spend a hell lot of time, right? I think this might seem very brutal, but my answer is very clear. Did he stop?
He didn't actually. He worked on one of the models. Yeah.
So best way is like go to angels, like go to successful businessmen, meet 100 businessmen, ask them to fund it, someone will fund it.
Okay, 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 okay.
And there are
Then
actually, Tata has a innovation center in Nasik, Tata Consultancy Service.
yeah, 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 we are having it at Indiranagar.
So, I mean, there will be some sources for sure.
Okay, okay,
And
okay.
yeah, and my question is very simple. Okay, he didn't get how much money he needed.
Actually wanted to start the manufacturing of I don't remember exact word in English, but kubar je aste that helps the
हाँ,
disabled person, and that is to be converted into chair. So ऐसा उसका कुछ business idea था. So he made a prototype.
हम्म,
But as he belonged to some you can say lower class, he couldn't make it.
हाँ, नहीं, so this is my point. Like these are very common challenges in entrepreneurship. These are always
Yeah,
seem out of the bounds of people, and that's how
yeah.
entrepreneurs exist because they solve this problem. Why couldn't he take money from Blind People's Association?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Why didn't he find someone like a rich person who has a blind child? Therefore, he wants to fund it.
Yeah,
There are
yeah.
always, I mean, it is about imagining possibilities and exploring that.
Yes, yes, yes. Then my last question is, what are some of the mistakes you wished you could have avoided? Means I don't know exactly your journey. We met in school, and afterwards I'm seeing you now as a founder of growfix.in. But what mistakes you committed that you think you should have avoided?
Yeah, so I actually committed hell lot of mistakes, probably thousands of mistakes, right? But the mistake I always regret, and I keep making it, okay, and that's how human nature is basically you learn a wisdom, you think you have learned it, but you don't internalize it, and then you forget it, and then you make that mistakes. Like whatever I'm telling, right? People will agree with me, but still they will forget that, and they are going to commit same mistakes, and I do that and everybody does it. So the only way for that to avoid is basically rather than eating out information, you should internalize wisdom. So once I realized that, how I solved it, basically I stopped reading books. I started reading books that matter only, and I started reading it twice, and unless I found a real life application of that book, I could apply those lessons outside. I don't go to next book. So it's okay
Okay.
if I read one book per year, right? So because generally, if you look at videos or books, basically you consume knowledge, but if you don't internalize it, I did that mistake a lot of times. So I at least time to find a solution. I don't know how successful I'll be. But this is a very common mistake that keeps happening, and you pay a very high price for it because somebody else committed a mistake, figure out a solution, told you the solution, and you didn't. मतलब इमेजिन कि मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि
Capitalize.
ये दूध गर्म है, इसको हाथ मत लगा, फिर भी तुम जाके हर लगा रहे
Uh,
हो. These kind of mistakes that I made, and
okay.
I really regret them.
Okay, okay. Now, the general problem which I face being a teacher, that a student, even though in our generation also we didn't had, some of the students had goals and they set goals. They said, "Ki I want to become an entrepreneur. I want to become a businessman. I want to pursue MS. I want to become a doctorate." But there are many students. It is very common that they say, "I want to do business. I want to do startups." So what are general characteristics or what are general things that they should follow so that they can execute? To summarize, I would say, to summarize this session.
I think first is check your own motivations.
Okay.
Why do you want to do it, right? People are not clear. Uh, they always do it for wrong reasons,
Mm-hmm.
and therefore, as soon as they understood, like, so ऐसा होता है ना, मैं धंधा चालू करूंगा, पैसे मिल जाएंगे, मैं बॉस बन
हाँ
जाऊंगा,
हाँ 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 हाँ.
तो वो नहीं होने वाला, राइट? अगर इतना एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप अच्छा होता तो दुनिया के 80% लोग एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप करते हैं, 80 क्यों 100%, तो क्यों 99% जनता सैलरी जॉब कर रही है? Because entrepreneurship is difficult, right? But if people have wrong expectations from entrepreneurship, then they are always going to fail. And so best way is to try actually, because for a first time founder, whatever I tell him, your motivation should be pure. He will think it is pure. His motivation is pure.
Hmm.
So best way is start doing it. Like pick a problem and solve. You will face so many difficulties. You will know your character,
Exactly.
and if you overcome that, you will develop that habit. So not giving up. So start something. Don't give up. Start give and take it to logical conclusion. No matter what. If you're not
Okay.
doing it, probably you will. And I'm not saying entrepreneurship is the best choice to live.
Hmm.
Aim of life is to become happy, right? There are other ways to become
Yeah.
happy.
Yes.
Uh, I do entrepreneurship because it makes me happy. It's a tool of becoming happy. It is not an end in itself. So
Okay.
figure out whether you are meant for entrepreneurship or entrepreneurship is meant for you. Once that is clear, right, other learnings and everything that keeps happening. Once you have
Yeah.
that real seriousness towards that, then you will start picking up things. Or you would know, hey, I don't know this. I need to have this guy on board as a co-founder or something.
Yeah. 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 So I think we are short of the time now, and the questions are also not there. To summarize, I would say Ajinkya has helped us to understand what is startup, what is entrepreneurship, what is business. He also helped us to understand हार्डवेयर. आप हार्डवेयर से जन्मे हो और आप में जो संस्कार होते हैं, आप जो दोस्तों के साथ रहते हो, जो कुछ होता है, that is the software that is getting installed. You need to have right habits. You need to have purpose in your life in order to succeed. And if you want to become an entrepreneur, आपके पास लोगों के प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करने का जिम्मा लेना चाहिए आपने. Okay, so you should take the credibility, you should take the opportunity, grab the opportunity, और आपका पर्पस भी उसमें होना चाहिए. अदरवाइज आप अगर पैसे के पीछे भाग रहे हो, पैसे के लिए अगर आप वो करना चाहते हो तो नहीं होगा. आपका सोल पर्पस अगर पैसा कमाना है तो आई वुड से एंटर इनटू बिजनेस. व्हाट से अजिंक्य?
Yeah. And there is nothing wrong in it. I mean, it's a very
Yeah.
good thing to do.
Yes. So, shall we end the session?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would like to thank Ajinkya for sparing his valuable time, around 45 minutes he has given. I would request students and all the attendees to kindly visit the website. I have already shared growfix.in. If you are having any more questions, you can email Ajinkya on his website, or you can contact me. I'll share you his contact number. So again, आई थैंक यू अजिंक्य फॉर बीइंग पेशेंट, गिविंग इमीडिएट रिस्पॉन्स. मैंने सिर्फ उसको एक कॉल किया, भाई तू करेगा क्या, एंड ही इमीडिएटली सेड यस. इवन दो देयर आर 10 people, 100 people, और इवन दो we two are there, we'll do it. So it was I'm really very grateful to Ajinkya, and we in future we may have more of the sessions. I know he will say yes, but time is money. Okay, so let's stop here right now. Bye bye, take care, stay healthy, stay happy, stay home, stay safe.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Prasad, for having me. Really enjoyed this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.